The Rabbit Hunt is a Walter Lantz Productions Cartune Comedies cartoon from 1938. This is directed by Kline. It's written by Victor McLeod and James Miele, and we have voices provided by Mel Blanc. And I'll be honest, it's not that good. It was better than expected. When I read the title, I thought there's a good chance I'm not going to like this. I'm not a big fan of cartoons that are based around hunting animals, even the ones that are quite lighthearted. But even though that part of it I didn't like, I feel like the main reason I didn't really care for it is because really not a lot happens. Towards the end, it gets a little intense, and I genuinely thought it was going in one direction, and it didn't, and I'm glad of that. And with a spoiler warning, I'll explain what I mean by that. But the point there is that eventually it starts to get not necessarily interesting, but I had an emotional response to it eventually. But for the most part, there really wasn't a lot going on here. And the only thing I particularly liked about it is the bunny, the rabbit. He is absolutely gorgeous, or it's absolutely gorgeous. And I will explain now what happens, and I will also discuss the ending. But very briefly before I do that, it's about a character called Jock and his dog, and they're going hunting for a rabbit. That's it. That's the entire cartoon. There's a little bit more to it than that, and I will explain with a spoiler warning what that is. But honestly, there's not a lot of substance to this. So unless you particularly love, for some reason, hunting-based cartoons, I'd say it's probably not worth watching, unless you, like me, are currently trying to watch every Walter Lantz Productions cartoon, in which case, give it a go, check it off your list. It is watchable, but I certainly wouldn't watch it a second time. So I'll now explain in a little bit more detail what happens and the point when things became, again, not interesting, but I certainly was starting to have some kind of emotional response to it. So for about 4/5 of the cartoon, I'm plucking that figure out of nowhere, but for a good portion of the cartoon, it is just the dog chasing after the bunny mostly winding the dog up. The bunny is absolutely adorable. The animation for the character is just so cute. The dog as well looks quite delightful. And then the bunny comes up against a trap, and the bunny manages to stop just in time without jumping into the trap, and it gets an idea, and it decides to lure the dog so that the dog will become trapped by the trap. And I genuinely thought that's where the cartoon was going. I thought with the dog being the hunter, being the antagonist, he's going to get trapped, and that will be getting a taste of his own medicine because he was trying to capture the rabbit. But the rabbit realizes at the last minute, or I guess the last second, that actually that would be cruel. The rabbit starts crying, and it manages to stop the dog from getting hurt. And the rabbit doesn't get hurt in the process either. But as I said, I genuinely thought the dog was going to be hurt, and I wasn't liking the direction this was going in, and ultimately, at the very end, the dog and the rabbit become friends, and I guess that's the best possible outcome we could have hoped for. So it isn't as violent as some hunting-based cartoons. There is a gun involved, but not extensively. Mostly it's just the dog chasing the rabbit and the rabbit winding the dog up. Not very entertaining, but the rabbit is very cute. I do love the design of the rabbit. Absolutely adorable, and the dog as well. So both of those characters were pretty good, but unfortunately the narrative was really dull, and the only emotional response I have was a negative one because I had fear for what I thought was going to happen to the dog. I guess the other emotional response was relief when I realised that that's not what was going to happen. So it's not great. In general, I'd say while it's not a terrible cartoon, I definitely don't think The Rabbit Hunt has that much to offer. So unless there's a particular reason why you want to watch it, I have of course now spoiled how it ends, but if you do want to watch it for any reason, give it a go. It is watchable, but I personally didn't get very much out of it. I didn't really enjoy it. I definitely wouldn't be watching it a second time.